All right. We will call the Belvedere City Council regular meeting of November 1st, 2021 to order. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Brereton. Brereton is absent. Fleury.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Freeman. Here. McGee.
Here.
Mulhall.
Present.
Porter.
Here.
Prather.
Here.
Snow.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, if we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, we pray to thank you for the many blessings that we have. We pray to thank you for our freedom, our community, our country. We also give thanks for our police department, our fire department, our military service members, and the elected officials that we have here this evening. We pray that you give us the wisdom, understanding, and compassion and strength as we conduct our city's business here this evening. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Okay, it's my understanding we do have a public comment here this evening, item 3. John Albertini, would you like to come up, John? Nice to see you, John.
Nice to see you too, sir. I won't take up a lot of your time. Most of you know me. I've been up here before. The reason I'm up here today was to ask just a couple of questions because I don't understand a lot of things. Trying to accumulate the information, I guess I don't know how to. So I thought if I came to this committee and asked you guys, maybe you can help me out. One, I wanted to know how you became an alderman, or how do you become an alderman? Do you petition? Do you people ask you to run? How do you become one? And how could I become one if I wanted to? I don't know how to get those answers. The other answer I have is, well, I notice most of you seem to do a good job. Okay, and that's a good thing I could say about you guys. I've noticed, I've been here a few meetings. I think you've noticed me paying attention. I have made statements. Some of them get listened to, some don't. I don't know why. I'm going to give an example. About 2 weeks ago, I spoke to my ward alderman. That would be you and you. And I talked about a house that had a fire hydrant blocked by overgrowth. Fire hydrant blocked is not a good thing for the fire department or the people that may be burning in that facility. So I asked if somebody could take a look or do something about it. They said, we'll see what we could do. They were familiar with the area, what it was, and who the people were that owned it. So I gave them 2 weeks, which would have been today. 2 weeks, nothing happened to the property. Fire hydrant got to be taller and taller, overgrown. You couldn't even know it was there. I pulled up to that property today, stopped in the driveway, nobody's there, took pictures of this to bring to the meeting today. On the way to the meeting today, I noticed because I took the time to take these pictures, somebody noticed me and cut these weeds down. They're gone completely. You can see the fire hydrant, it looks beautiful. I don't know if it's the alderman I'm supposed to be bringing these problems to, because I thought that's what they do. If you have a problem, you tell them, and they go out and see if they can rectify it. Well, I found in 2 weeks it wasn't. I took care of it, it got rectified. If somebody could just take the time to go out there, even just to stand there, look at the problem, and walk away, somebody will notice them and maybe fix it. They don't have to do a whole lot. It's not a lot of work. It didn't take me much. I drove 3 blocks from my house, took the picture, went home. It was taken care of, and I'm nobody. I wish you guys could make the city look a little cleaner. I think that's part of what your job is. I'm not sure, because I don't know what an alderman's job is. That's the other question I have, if somebody could tell me what an alderman's job is. What are they supposed to do? Did they do this job as a volunteer, or do they get paid for it? Either way, I feel if you're going to volunteer or get paid for this job, you might want to try to do it. As a whole, I think you guys, like I said, do a great job. I've listened. I paid attention. A lot of you really exert some energy into this job. I'm not going to point out who doesn't, but I'm just saying a lot of you really are energetic about your job. Some of you just come here to go yay or nay and go home for the day, it seems. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. Maybe I misunderstand. Again, because I'm not familiar with the procedure. I told the mayor when I first started coming here that someday I'd like to be sitting at one of these seats and be an alderman. I feel I could do a good job. Some people seem to feel that I can do it because I'm retired. I have more time. I don't think that's the case, because in my retirement, I still take care of the people in my community, and I'm just a person. I go out and I make sure they're doing okay. I ask if they got a problem. Is there something I can do? I try to find them answers, solutions to their problems. I do that all the time, just walking around my neighborhood. I don't have to do that. I just do it because I feel the people deserve it. And I feel they deserve it as a citizen of this city, that their aldermen do their jobs and take care of them as well, not just show up and go home and, and nothing done. I have a lot of people in my community who need help, who need to ask questions. They don't know where to go. I find out for them and I get them answers when I can. There's times I can't. I have to ask somebody. Like today, I'm here asking you guys because I don't know something. A lot of the people call me the mayor of Four Seasons because of what I do for them. And I know it sounds funny, but for what I do for them, that's how they feel. They want to go out and get me a shirt that says so. I go, I don't want that. I don't want to be the mayor. As it is, I stand out in my community to the people who own that facility. They don't like me at all because they see me on this camera and they know who I am. I don't mind making problems for people if it's justified and if it makes other things go better for the rest of the world, not just one individual. So I would like to ask you guys, if somebody could take the time, sit down with me and want to take the time to tell me how to become an alderman, tell me what I need to do, and also pass the word to each other. Is it you, is it me? Who does he feel is not doing his job? I don't feel nobody's not doing their job. They're just not as exuberant as they probably were when they started. And maybe they just needed to be reminded. So hopefully I did that. I asked around to the people where I live, when you go to vote, who do you vote for and why? Most of them said they didn't know why they voted for who they did. They said it because it was an incumbent they saw. Oh, familiar, must be a good person, he's there already. So they checked that box. And I asked them, well, did you follow up to see if what you did was a good idea? Did they do something that you voted them in? No. So they're not educated. They're just voting like sheep. So I'm trying to educate most of the people in my area how to vote. Research your people. Research what they've done, what they promised to do, and then if they promised to do something, find out they did it, or not just got your vote and then went away. They really had no idea why they voted for who they did, and it was a shame. And that was probably, I talked to probably over 100 people. Almost all of them told me the same thing. They didn't know why they voted for who they voted for. And that's a shame. Most of you might have been on this board for 20 years, I don't know, because your name is incumbent. Not because your name's Porter or this or that. It's just, and I didn't pick that name out of the hat just to say it. It's just a name that I remembered. So that's one of the questions I asked them and they didn't know. Got one other one here. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I know you got real business. I asked them about how they felt about the appearance of the city of Belvedere. Believe it or not, our community where we live, they all go, very nice. It's beautiful. Well, that's because they're mandated by the park managers to do so. Our community, when I look at it, it is immaculate. It is clean today. That's going to change because they're going to ruin it. But anyways, it's mandated that they have to do this, if not, they're fined. There's a letter comes to your door that says you didn't do this, when it's in the rules, do it, and your house looks nice. You want to do a change, you got to get it okayed by the park, very nice. Our community, compared to probably 60%, 70% of Belvedere, looks that much better. Belvedere, I'm not picking on it, I like it, I moved here for a reason. It seemed to be a nice town, that's why I picked it. I moved here 5 years ago. But when I look at some of the communities in here, or neighborhoods, it's a mess. And I asked the people, do you think that why is it like this? And they said, well, the people don't care, and they don't have to take care of it. This is just inherent in who they are. I said, well, no, there are also rules and regulations that mandate how their property should look. And they go, well, we got a feeling that maybe nobody's going out and checking these things, or nobody's doing anything, or there's not enough money mandated for inspectors, or people to go out and say, hey, you know, you got to take care of this, you can't have this, or look at the grass, it's this tall. I'm sure there's laws or rules, but nobody's enforcing them. And I got to believe that's a fact, because I see it, and I've only been here 5 years. I'd like to see it start to pick up where the community looks like mine. And if you don't think so, you've been to Four Seasons. It's a beautiful community, don't you think? It's stellar. Only because they're intimidated. They got no choice. But I don't want the community to be intimidated, but I want them to be regulated to a point where I'm not ashamed to drive through a neighborhood and go, oh, I live in this city? Because I'm proud to be here. I got to tell you, for the 5 years I've been here, I like a lot of the stuff. I like a lot of the people. Alan's, his mother, I met when I first moved here, and she's treated me with nothing but respect and joy, and she's a joy to be with. There's a million people like that here. But there's people also here that don't give a shit. They just let it go, and that's the way it is. They tried that at Four Seasons, they're out. Try it in Belvedere, you get to stay. I'm not picking on your city, but I think you need to step up a little more on the inspection and the people taking care of this stuff. Again, I shouldn't have had to gone out and take this picture to get it done. It should have been handled already. I probably have a lot more written down here, but I'm going to stop because I've been told I go off like a politician. So I have respect for your committee here. You guys do a great job as a whole. It's just sometimes little things get off kilter that kind of make me not happy. I'd like for you to try to follow through a little more if that's what you're supposed to do. Now, if it's not, please, like I said, somebody take the time and talk to me, or have me come to your office or wherever you want to have me come and talk to me and tell me how to do this and tell me what your job is, and maybe I misunderstand it, okay?
Yeah. Well, unlike Four Seasons, we can't go out and hang a ticket on someone's door. We have to go through a process that takes sometimes up to a couple of months. Like with long grass, what do we have to do?
Yeah, document it, notify them, give them 10 days to correct it, then give them a ticket, and if they still don't do it, then it goes to court, and once it goes to court, God knows how long.
That I understand, but it's something like a fire hydrant. That shouldn't take weeks, months.
If they don't
That's
respond-
important.
If they don't respond to violations, it has to go through the enforcement process.
Yeah, well, see, and that's, something's got to be changed. That's what I'm saying. Something's got to be changed about that. A fire hydrant shouldn't be disappeared for months at a time.
Unfortunately, Public Works has to get to it, and they have other stuff going on also.
I think a fire hydrant's number one to me. You got to fight a fire. What happens if that
Other
gas
stuff
station
also.
started on fire?
We've got also other stuff.
Well, and I understand you're busy, and that's why I say I don't know everything, because I only see what I see here or what I see on the street.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have properties all over that, Dan's got properties he's been fighting with for how many years? 11 years. And we've got properties we've been fighting with because we have to go through the court systems. We can't just go, with Four Seasons, you have a contract with them, they can go ticket you.
We can't do that with Belvedere, make people who come here abide by certain codes and rules. You have codes and rules, why shouldn't they have to abide by them? Well, I understand there's a process, and you're saying it's timely. Why can't we shorten the process?
Well, if I might interject, first of all, we are, since my administration, since I've been in here in office, I've fielded probably, I don't know, 50, 60 calls of individuals. For the most part, people in the community take care of their property. They're like you and I and probably everybody in this room. They take care of their property, but you do have those, unfortunately, that don't. And when you have those, you have to make sure that that is a priority because people have to live next door to that. But you also want to make sure that if there is any hardship or there's a reason, that you find out what that reason may be. So that person may be sick, they may have a death in the family, there may be a variety of reasons, but you try and give them the benefit of the doubt to a point. And then after that, I believe that the city should act appropriately, and that means, you know, individuals that we have a building code here and we have a maintenance code, then they should, we should make sure that we ask them to clean that up, and then if they don't, we do have penalties that we can enact. And I believe firmly in that, and I have done that. We may not get them all, but I think for the most part, the aldermen that are here, myself, and anybody that lives in the city, if they see something that we may not catch, they'll give us a call and we'll try and get it solved. Like I said, we may not get them all, but we do try our very hardest. And I do, and I think you can ask our building director, and he'll tell you that a couple times a week I'm usually in with code enforcement to make sure we follow up on either things that I've seen or an alderman has told me or a citizen has called me about. I do appreciate, though, John, you having the passion for city government, and I think what I would like you to do is call City Hall, some of those questions that we're probably not going to be able to answer in a timely manner here this evening, but I think it shows that you have a caring for the community and you have a passion for government. Certainly you can call me, you can call Sarah, the clerk, and I'll be more than happy to tell you what the responsibilities are of an alderman, what the responsibilities are when you take petitions out, when you seek that office, and how you go about that, and how often those positions become available. But there's no secrets, and you know, feel free to give me a call.
Okay, so I should
Or-
give you a call and make an appointment sometime with you to get information.
You can do that, or you can call the clerk's office, or you can call me.
Sure.
You can call me. I think you could probably call any of the aldermen, and they'd probably, if they could take the call, they would give you information that I would. But feel free to give me a call. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I've used Sarah in the past, and she has taken care of me quite diligently. Followed right up, and you know, when I had other homes that I had questions about and this disrepair, and she got me answers right away. I feel she does a great job, so I appreciate it. Again, I don't want to burden you guys. You got a meeting to get on with. I just wanted to bring you up to speed how I feel, because of the point is I will be sitting at this meeting off and on periodically because I want to learn. I want to catch on. I want to find out what's being done and why not. If I have further problems, I will bring them to you if they belong to you.
That's fine. And you know, John, down the agenda item here on item B under unfinished business, we have an ordinance here for a second reading this evening that deals with what I believe is an issue. You know, whenever individuals deposit garbage or furniture or what have you in the right of way, you know, when they do that, that isn't the city's. It shouldn't be the city's job to go clean that up. But when people do that, you know, and they knowingly do that, there should be ramifications for that. And so this ordinance that we have here this evening will give us a little more options to make sure that we can coax those that may be a violator. They may be a constant. I've had them where they're constantly doing that. So it gives us a little bit more of an advantage to be able to hopefully make sure that all the good neighbors and all the individuals that keep their property up, that we can encourage them to do so also with a little bit of teeth, so, and fairness.
Sure.
Mhm.
All right, well, I appreciate all your times. If you had any questions, nothing? Good, because I don't have an answer. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking the time. I'll let you have your meeting back. Thank you very much, all of you.
You bet. Thank you for coming again. Appreciate it. All right. Also, under public comment on your desks this evening, former Mayor Brereton has a National Day of Prayer dinner, and he'd asked me about regarding City Hall, to have a dinner here at City Hall for the entire administration and all the elected individuals. That will be November 15th before our meeting on the 15th. So I thought that was really nice of former Mayor Brereton, and so I told him that would be great, and the information that's on your desk is pertinent to that. So if you have any questions about that, you feel free to give me a call or call former Mayor Brereton. And but I did think that was wonderful. So, all right, moving on. We have item 4. That's all we had for public comment, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, approval of the minutes. We have approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Belvedere City Council of October 18th, 2021 as presented. Is there a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderwoman Mohal. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Fleury. Any discussion regarding that? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. We don't have a public hearing this evening. No special messages and proclamations. No item 7, approval of expenditures. Under item 8A, committee reports and minutes of city officers. We have the minutes of the Committee of the Whole. The Committee of the Whole, Public Safety, Finance, and Personnel of October 25th, 2021 as presented. Do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Snow. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman McGee. Any questions regarding those minutes or anything that you have in front of you? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. And under item 9, unfinished business, we had item A, ordinance number 550H, which was an original motion by Alderman Snow and a second by Alderman McGee, and that was placed back on the agenda after reconsideration vote was granted. So it will take off from exactly where we left off with it. So there is a motion and a second on the floor. And is there any discussion regarding ordinance 550H here for a second reading? Alderwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. So my issue with this is we have a planning and zoning committee. They're not elected. They don't answer to constituents. They're appointed. And they seem to be able to make decisions that apparently we are not able to vote down. Now, we're told that we can certainly vote against what they have approved, but then when we try to do that, we're told now these people could have a lawsuit. So in effect, we are not able to vote down what unelected people have deemed that they're going to do. This is not only my ward, but my neighborhood. I live a block and a half away from here. I know this area very well. I didn't know, because I didn't happen to pick up the Boone County Journal that week, that there was a public hearing about this, where you can bet I would have been there along with probably 100 other people. So it comes to us after the fact, and then it's too late to fight it because, quote, nobody showed up at the public hearing because 250, feet from the building is not a very big radius. So I just am really upset about this. The other establishments that I've talked about, their sidewalks are much wider. A lot of them are on corners. You can park at the other end and not have to walk by it. I've gone around and looked at these places. None of them are really in the middle of the strip malls. None of them are definitely that close to a Dollar Tree in a neighborhood that gets a lot of foot traffic from children. So I'm really quite upset about the whole process of this. And then I guess there's nothing I can do about it.
Alderman Snow.
I understand the issues with the zoning people not being elected, and I also understand the aspect of the 250 feet. Now, the 250 feet does not include any right-of-ways, so the people across the Highway 20 should have gotten notified. Boatloads of people would have gotten notified about this, and apparently nobody showed up to talk about it. Now, I admit that they don't know the process, but they did get notified, and there's not the participation. The other thing is that, again, it has yet to ever been established, to my knowledge, that any of these gaming establishments, particularly the ones that are just gaming establishments, actually create issues or problems for tenants they're next to or surrounding areas. And I've heard arguments that, well, that brings down property values. Again, nobody's ever been able to come up with this kind of stuff because, generically speaking, if it was an issue, we would hear about it throughout the state because people would kibosh this stuff. It doesn't hinder anything like that. The amount of traffic that a gaming establishment, I would guess, I'm not an expert, but the amount of traffic that these gaming parlors generate is far less than a lot of other businesses that could go into that same slot, which would be more of a detriment to children walking through the parking lot and or on the sidewalk. So I'm going to be voting in favor of it because I don't see it as a hindrance.
Okay. Anybody else? City Attorney?
Briefly as to the process. Frustration sometimes with the council members, I get it. The process is set forth by state statute. The state statute says that all these planning matters must go to commission designated by the city council, in our case the Planning and Zoning Commission. Sometimes it's called the ZBA. It requires that public hearing before the commission. The reason the General Assembly set up that way was to remove the politics, remove the elected officials from the public hearing portion of it so that the evidence could be taken. The recommendations by the Planning and Zoning Commission are that they are recommendations to the City Council. The City Council making the final decision must rely upon the evidence that came out of that public hearing. More to the process, because Alderman Freeman mentioned the 250 feet. That's not required by state statute. Your predecessor City Council put that process into effect. All the state statute requires is publication in the paper, and we also require postings. So for every zoning matter that comes through the city of Belvedere, whether it's a variance, special use, map amendment, there's notice to every property owner within 250 feet, irregardless of right-of-way. The property that is the subject of the zoning matter has a sign placed in front of it, so anybody walking by it or driving by it, if it's on a street, can see that there's a zoning matter pertaining to that property, and it has our information. They can contact City Hall. And in addition, it is published, as you mentioned, in the local paper. So the process is what's required by state statute. And it was set up that way on purpose to try and remove the public hearing evidentiary portion of the process away from the purview of elected officials, so that it simply is evidentiary, and frankly, politics doesn't come into play at all. So the process was followed as it's being followed now, And frankly, it's what every other city in the state does.
Alderman Snow.
And a
then
question
Alderwoman Freeman.
for the attorney, could we, in theory, push this back to have another planning and zoning hearing on it? Or does that stir up and create all kinds of issues? Because obviously somebody would have to incur the cost of the notifications of the people 250 feet with the registered mail. The applicant's already done that. They've done their due diligence in that regards. So just tossing it out there, if you can give us the parameters.
Our code does allow for referral back to planning and zoning for further hearings. So yes, that's a possibility. You're right. The meeting would have to be republished, which would mean a new publication in the paper, reposting at the store, as well as new certified mailings to everybody within 250 feet. The city would be bearing that cost. I don't know, I should have asked you before the meeting, $600-800? And while she's looking that up, the issue you do run into is, if you refer to planning and zoning, you really expect a different result. I mean, are you really expecting to find anything that would come out of that hearing that might pertain to the matter that was presented, frankly? Especially given light of what we have throughout the rest of the city with respect to video gaming near our dollar stores, video gaming near other establishments, and frankly, in close proximity to residential. Did you find that?
So the certified mailings went out to 23 individual property owners, so that was $160 $1.08. Since then, postage has gone up like 3 cents or something like that. So it'd be about 160, give or take. And then the newspaper publication, I don't have that bill, but that is most likely about 100, 150.
Cheaper than I thought.
And then the sign would be reposted.
Luckily, it's not a long legal description, so it's not as expensive.
Yeah, it's only about a paragraph, so.
And, I will say that probably if we send this back to planning and zoning, they probably will not come up with a different scenario. And also, how we, as part of the process, how we are here today is because we did have a vote for reconsideration. We have to remember that. We had a vote that allowed for the council to reconsider this motion, so that is a part of the process. We may not like it, but historically speaking, I will tell you that when I was an alderman for 3 terms, I don't think I ever voted against anybody if I was on either side of an issue, if they wanted to ask for a reconsideration. So I do agree with that. I think there might be something that I always looked at it that I may have learned, or that somebody else may know that I don't, something I don't know. So here we are. We have a motion here. It's up to the council what they want to do with it. I do see your hand up, Alderwoman Freeman. Give me just a second. Thank you. So that's my sentiment. If we do look for a different, if we're looking for some new information that seems to be out there that we haven't gotten, I don't know if that would be the case or not. I kind of doubt it. But we do have a motion that brings us here as for reconsideration, and that's what's before us here tonight. Alderwoman Freeman, thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry. So my question is, only 23 people got mailed this stuff, okay? They could have in turn gotten all their neighbors to come. So the Planning and Zoning Committee, according to the minutes of that public hearing, not one single person on that committee asked one single question. There was no discussion, there was no questions. It was basically, just rubber stamped. So if there were, how much does people actually go into those hearings weigh on that committee? Or is it they have to go by the statutes set forth in our ordinances that, you know, this meets those statutes, so no matter if there's 500 people there against it or 2 people there against it, they still have to say yes or no according to those regulations? Or if 500 people show up, do they say, even though it meets those regulations, we can still vote no because there's so much public against it or for it, either way?
Big question. First answer, actually multiple questions. First answer, yes, if people show up, you know, frankly, I just realized 2 of the people on this council have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so they're intimately aware. And in fact, you ever serve as chairperson? I know Mr. Alderman Snow did. You're vice chair, so you ran a few of the meetings. And I know Alderman Morse has attended the meetings in the past, but most of you probably don't know how a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting works. And I hate to waste your time with this, but maybe you need to understand it. When a case is presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm going to talk in terms of your typical, for example, in this case, special use. It could be a text amendment, it could be a variance. They're all going to process very similarly during this portion of it. The requirement is that the petitioner is the burden of proof of showing that they're entitled to the relief they want sought. If there's a variance, that they're entitled to the variance for whatever reason, there's a hardship, they can't meet the terms of the code. If it's special use, that they comply with the terms of the ordinance. Frequently, the planning department actually goes first, so that, because they've already done a lot of research, they can give the planning commission their 2 cents on it. But at that point, after the staff has given their report and their 2 cents and their evaluation of the case, then the commission can ask, frankly in this case, Ms. Del Rose, any questions they want to. The applicant is allowed to cross-examine her. And then anybody that's in the audience that wishes to speak is allowed to question her and cross-examine her on the evidence that she gave. And then follow up by that, then the applicant can present any evidence they want to present in support of their case. And the city can question it. Frankly, I'm usually serving as the assistant to the chair, so I'm whispering in their ear, and I can't ask questions. But on occasion, I've not done that. I've sat in the audience and asked questions. The city can ask questions of the applicant and cross-examine their witnesses. The audience can cross-examine their witnesses, and the commission can cross-examine their witnesses. And then the chair is required to allow anybody in the audience that shows up that wants to present evidence that they have, whether it's testimony that we just don't like it, or if they actually hopefully have hard facts of why it's bad, to present evidence. And the city can cross-examine them, and the applicant cross-examine them. It is a miniature trial in triplicate, and that's a result of a case that came down early 2000s called the Claren decision. It's been modified a few times, but it is like a mini trial. And you have all these evidentiary matters coming forth. The Planning and Zoning Commission, that is our version of the ZB under state statute, Zoning Board of Appeals. They're required to hear all the evidence. Where you are correct is if 500 people stand up in the room and say, we just don't like it, we think it's a bad idea, but there's no evidence to show that it is not appropriate under the zoning codes, technically they should still approve it. Because in the United States, a person has a right to use the property the way they see fit, so long as it complies with the duly adopted regulations of both the state and the municipality. And it's there on purpose. You don't want the city saying you have to have a shoe store, you can't have a bike store, if the zoning allows for retail sales. So you're right. If the room is packed with people, they should still follow the law and make the correct decision based upon the law. Their job is to make a recommendation not on what is popular, but on what the law supports. And that's what comes up to you, is their recommendation along with what the facts were that were reduced at that public hearing. And frankly, when what I'm going to say is yes, though, they do listen, yes, it does influence them. When there's a lot of people in that room, it is going to raise the hackles on the back of the neck and say, oh, we've got to take a close look at this. Let's look at all the evidence. And hopefully the evidence comes out that supports the case one way or the other, and they have all the evidence before them. So yes, it absolutely does matter if that room is full of people, because it will cause them to take a good, hard look at that case. If nobody shows up and nobody raises their hand, or people show up and they don't raise their hand and ask to speak or cross-examine, the natural inclination is, well, we've got facts showing that this is okay. Nobody's showing us anything else. Now, obviously, nobody's really that interested in it. Recommendation to go forward. So yes, the number of people in the room does matter, but ultimately the facts of the case are what determine the outcome.
Okay. Alderman Snow?
So having run the meetings and participated in, as a commissioner as well, one of the many things that happens, typically, I'm gonna guess 99% of most cases, staff usually writes a recommendation and lays out what they call the finding of facts, in support of their recommendation for the case. There have been occasions where they side no. But in a number of cases, we as commissioners did not agree with the staff, and we painstakingly had to go through all of those finding of facts and dispute them and rewrite that no to the negative value of those statements, and ultimately vote no, and then it moves forward to the city council, and they usually heeded that and looked at that evidence. And on the other hand, there have been times that staff approved stuff and we did not agree with them, whether people were in the audience or not, and we went through those finding of facts. So not everybody reads all that. It's a lot of yada, yada, yada. But when you start looking at the merits of it, you do have to start breaking it down and justify that, yes, whether it's property values or safety issues or whatever, if you can't nail it down that, yeah, I don't see it, I see it as a detriment, or I don't see it, and so they do look at it, and it does weigh in on decisions. And again, I would always, encourage anybody who gets notified to show up, even if they don't speak. At least show up and see what's in it. And Mr. John Alderman Terry, it would be interesting for him to show up at one of those as well. He'd find that educational. So.
And it's the findings of fact. They are required in subdivision cases or text amendments, but they're required in variances and special uses, and that's required by state statute. And where cities do get in trouble is where the findings of fact steer one way. I shouldn't say steer, that's a bad word, but they find, for example, facts that would support either approval or denial, and then the commission and the council flip the other way without modifying the findings of fact. Because when that happens, some cities have gotten slapped upside the head by the courts because the findings of fact don't match the decision, which is why Alderman Snow can probably recall many times where painstakingly we had to go through them. Yes, there were, I remember His Glory Mission Church, 3 nights of 6-hour hearings starting at 6 p.m. and ending after midnight for one zoning case. That's the rarity. Don't get me wrong, that's the rarity. Walmart, I think, took a few hearings and some long hearings with people talking. St. James Church, they came out of the woodwork for the zoning hearings and then again at City Council. So yeah, those hearings sometimes get quite contentious, quite long. It all depends on how many people are interested.
Alderman Porter?
Well, I just have a quick question for Attorney Dweller then. So as city council members, does this, if we vote no on this, does this open us up individually to a lawsuit then?
I'm hesitant to go into great details to the strategy of what can happen. From individual liability, certainly you may be named in your individual capacities in a lawsuit. It does not mean that you face individual liability, because of course the city has a duty to defend you, where you would have possibly some personal exposure. I can't give each personal advice. My job is the city attorney, not your personal lawyers. Where you may find some personal liability as if a court or a jury were to find that you had acted willfully or wantonly or maliciously, then you may have some issues. But generally you do have, of course, legislative immunity. But certainly I would not be surprised if you were named as defendants. I mean, the city certainly would be. You could be. maybe not. It all depends on the plaintiff and whether they think they've got a case that you acted with malice.
Anybody else? Alderman Fleury.
Thank you. I think there's kind of a two-part to this, but I know there's some concerns with this particular ordinance being approved. However, this, other than a couple of new faces, this city council did approve the gamings going from 30 to 40. So if we didn't want gambling establishments, then we shouldn't have raised the limit from 30 to 40. Only myself and Alderman Brereton voted no against raising the limit from 30 to 40. However, looking at this applicant, they've met all the requirements, so I feel it's my responsibility, following the procedures that the attorney has laid out before us and what they've laid out here for meeting the requirements. They do meet all the requirements for that special use, so I will be voting yes tonight. So I think it's another issue. If we don't want gambling establishments, then maybe we need to relook at that ordinance having 40 versus 30. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Hearing none, then those in favor of ordinance number 550H, an ordinance granting a special use to allow indoor commercial entertainment within the neighborhood business district located at 1746 South State Street. Those in favor will answer aye. Those opposed, nay. When the clerk calls a roll, please.
Fleury,
Aye.
Frank,
Nay.
Freeman,
Nay.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Porter,
Nay.
Prather,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
5 in favor. Gonna vote? Oh, 6, sorry. You're correct, 6 in favor,
6 to 3.
6 to 3.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, item B, under unfinished business, 9, ordinance number 551H as a second reading, an ordinance amending section 98-15, which is for depositing material on city right-of-way of the City of Belvedere Municipal Code. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Alderman Snow. Second by Alderman Fleury. Any discussion? Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you. So I have one concern about this, and that is for like tree branches that are through no fault of the owner. At committee, I brought up, Comcast goes out and cuts a branch because a squirrel has chewed the wire. And then the branch lays there, and somebody said that Comcast should have removed the branch. Well, that guy's driving a van, along with the ComEd guys that are always trimming the branches on my street that are around a stop or a street light. So he also isn't driving a, truck that he can throw the branches in. So we only do leaf and branch pickup a couple times a year, and we can't burn in the city. So people are stuck with these tree branches, small, usually large, whatever, that they don't know what to do with. So I don't know what the remedy is for that, but it concerns me that, people are going to be getting called on from their neighbors. There's a branch laying on the terrace. You have to remove it, and what are they supposed to do with it?
Well, before I ask Brent to weigh in on this, I would like to say that this isn't geared towards branches. This is geared towards garbage. This is geared towards furniture. One of the individuals, one of the complaints that I had, I went over, I actually left the office, I went out, I looked at it, and they had actually taken garbage with diapers and what have you and just dumped it over the sidewalk, in the terrace and into the street. So my thought, whenever I had asked the city attorney to draw something up that was a little bit, that would give us a little bit more leverage with dealing with individuals that, as the gentleman who spoke under public comment had mentioned, that not everybody is a great neighbor. It just, the majority of the people are. But when you have those individuals that are not, then unfortunately we have to deal with it. I don't believe that it's fair that people who think that they can dump their garbage or maybe furniture or what have you out on the terrace, that they should expect the city to come up behind them and take care of it. That's not the city's position. And that was the reason that I'd put this in. Now, regarding any branches, I would ask Brent, if he doesn't mind, if he would just weigh in on this. He certainly deals with that a lot more than I do, but I know we have a designated time that we pick up branches. And so, Brent?
Alderman Freeman's correct, since the burning ban went into place, and that leaves one less option for property owners for the branch pickup, which is why we do branch pickup now twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. So the anticipation would be, if you do trim, that would be the time to trim your trees, and most trimming should be done probably spring or fall anyway. That would be the ideal time to do that work, and if the residents would time that work to coincide with the branch pickups, that's the logic behind it. Unfortunately, we'll have storm damage. Storms will come through during the summertime at any time. And when that happens, then we will do a citywide pickup for storm damage. But there are times when the branches just will appear in the terrace, and during those non-designated times for pickup, and then they sit there, and then eventually, usually I'll get a call from the alderman that says, hey, there's been branches piled here, and then we end up going to pick them up. So there are options available for property owners besides their branch pickup. Most of our waste haulers will do landscape waste pickup, whether it's through the bag system or designated can system, where if the residents want to trim, to take the small branches and stuff, they can trim them up to the point they put them in the cans, set them out, and take them away. Otherwise, there's private enterprises also that will be more than happy to make arrangements to come pick up those branches as well.
Thank you. Alderwoman Freeman?
Thank you. So Brent, who is responsible for the trees that are on the terrace? Is the homeowner responsible for those, or the city?
The city is responsible for terrace trees.
Branches?
So if there's branches and stuff that come down from the terrace tree, they just need to notify Public Works and we'll take care of them.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding this? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor then to pass ordinance 551H regarding amending section 9815, depositing material on the city right-of-way of the City of Belvedere Municipal Code. All those in favor will say aye. All those in favor will say aye when the clerk calls a roll, and all those opposed nay when the clerk calls a roll. How's that? Thank you.
Frank? Aye. Freeman?
Aye.
McGee?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Prather?
Aye.
Snow?
Aye.
Stevens?
Aye.
Flurry?
Aye.
9 in favor.
Okay, thank you. And item C, ordinance 552H, a second reading. An ordinance amending chapter 150 zoning ordinance, section 150.1005, signs exempt from regulation under this section. Specifically, the amendment is in regards to the number of flagpoles and flags that may be located on the property. I'll take responsibility for this one. I had thought that maybe perhaps we didn't get it right. I wanted the council to take another crack at this. Gina, you want to clue us in on where all this has went since then?
Mr. Mayor, do you want to have a motion to approve first, or?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Alderwoman Frank and a second by Alderwoman Prather. Thank you. So, Gina, clue us in.
So although I know for a fact that that some of the residents, concerned citizens were notified of the public hearing, no one showed up. The plan commission members did talk in length about the matter, very split. It really basically falls down to aesthetics. Do you like the look of it? Do you think it's crowded? Do you think it's overwhelming? Or do you not? Because we cannot regulate the kind of flags. We can't regulate them to be tasteful, military support flags. It could be the Care Bears stare on a flagpole. We can't regulate that. So it really ultimately falls down to aesthetics. And again, the commission was pretty well split. Some thought, freedom of speech, let them put out there. If it becomes an issue, then maybe redact that, in a couple of years and change it back and limit it. Others saw it as there's not too many properties now that have that many flags, and those that are doing it against the code. It almost kind of goes with the I want to be heard mentality. That's why there's so many flags. So whether we change it or not, they're going to be there. Doubt changing it is going to open the door, and we're going to have 100 people putting up 9. You're kind of, if that's what you want, you're already doing it. Don't see it as inviting more. And then others were just 100%. I don't like the look of it. It's too crowded. It's distracting. The possibilities of what it could turn into and what kind of flags could be out there is worrisome. So ultimately, the Plan Commission voted to, was it denial? Hold on. Was it denied? I can't remember.
Deny sticks in my head, but I know it's close.
It said the motion failed with a 2-4 roll call vote.
Okay, gotcha. I knew it was failed the first time, so I didn't know if that denial was sticking in my head from the first time around or not. So it was ultimately a recommendation of denial from Plan Commission.
City Attorney.
Procedure. A moment ago, I was talking about how the public hearing is really important. You have to stick to the facts that come out of the public hearing, things like that. Text amendments, this is what's called a text amendment. This is a different animal. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission considering with input from the public what the council might want to adopt as the law of the land. You're not bound in any way, shape, or form by what the Planning and Zoning Commission does or recommends in a text amendment. And there are, if you notice, there's no findings of fact in a text amendment because it's not a decision on an individual's rights or corporation's right to use their own property. This is establishing a law citywide. So you do what you want to do.
Okay. Anybody else? To me, I look at it, some of the complaints that I had received was from an individual that had more than 3 flags on 3 poles. And, I don't know if push come to shove, if that individual, if you took them to court, I don't know if freedom of speech would prevail. I would almost hope that it would, in my opinion. But regardless of that, it is up to the council. But as the city attorney said, in this case, you do have a chance to weigh in however you see it. I'm fine with it. Alderman Snow?
So just so we're all clear, so at this point, the ordinance as it's being presented to us is to allow up to 3 flag poles and with no more than 3 flags total, so that would be 1 per pole, or are we looking at a total of
That's
9?
what the code currently is. The text amendment would allow up to 3 poles with a maximum of 3 flags per pole, so you could end up with a total of 9 flags per lot.
Well, the way it reads at the last sentence, it says total of 3 poles with up to 3 flags each are permitted on lot. So we are talking 9, okay.
Yep. Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll have a vote, we'll have a roll call vote on this. All those in favor of 552H as amended, as amending the Chapter 150 of the zoning ordinance for signs, specifically flags, poles, and flags that may be located on the property in amount. All those in favor will say aye. Any opposed, nay. When the clerk calls a roll.
Freeman,
No.
McGee,
Nay.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Porter,
Nay.
Prather,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Flurry,
Nay.
Frank,
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, there are
5 in favor.
5 in favor, which triggers your duty to vote.
I vote yes. Motion passed, thank you. Item 10, motions forwarded from the Committee of the Whole, Public Safety, Finance, and Personnel of October 25th, 2021. Motions of Finance and Personnel would be Chairman Brereton, the Vice Chair.
Flurry.
Alderman Flurry, no?
Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever. May might have the old one. And the other one is Wendy.
Alderwoman Frank.
Thank you, Mayor.
Motion's out of committee. Item A. Thank you.
Motion to approve the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2021 audit as presented by Sickich.
Motion out of committee. I had talked with our budget director, Shannon Hansen, about this. Did you have any comments, Ms. Hansen, on this?
I just want to update, while Sickich indicated last week that the city did get a clean audit report, they did share some recommendations. We have spoken with them on each one of the recommendations. Only one is new this year, and it was just part of a grant, and that will fall after the year. But every other one actually has been in place for the 3 years that they've served as auditors. And we are going through each one, and we'll be making some recommended changes. If not all of them, if we can actually make them all, we will. Otherwise, we will be working towards making them all.
Okay, thank you. And I think it is important to note that Sickich has done our audits in the past, and that all but one of the deficiencies have been present in the past. So we have one that was a new one, and I appreciate you. We're going to answer all of them, so thank you. Any other questions? Any comments? Okay, all those in favor will say aye. Any opposed, nay, when the clerk calls the roll.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Prather,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank, Freeman,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Okay, motion passed, thank you. Motion of the building chairwoman, Chairwoman Prather.
Motion to authorize waiving the building and zoning fees for Habitat for Humanity project at 1115 Garfield Avenue.
Okay, we have motion out of committee. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor will answer aye. Any opposed, nay, when the clerk calls a roll.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
Prather,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank, Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Motion passed, thank you. And motions out of Public Works, Chairwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. C, motion to approve the purchase of a Wheel 2553 pump in the amount of $19,362 from Thompson Hops Pumps This equipment will be paid for from the sewer depreciation fund.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions regarding the motion out of committee? Any comments, any concerns? All right. Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Any opposed, nay, when the clerk calls the roll, please.
Porter,
Aye.
Prather,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank, Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Okay.
D, motion to approve the engineering services work order from Baxter and Woodman in an amount not to exceed $4,500 to complete the supplemental permit for winter sludge application. This work will be paid for from line item number 61-5-820-6190.
Okay, we have a motion out of committee on that. Brent, did you want to add anything to that, or no? Okay. Any questions, any concerns regarding the motion out of committee? Okay, hearing, seeing none. All those in favor will say aye. Any opposed, nay, when the clerk calls the roll, please.
Prather,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank, Freeman,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Porter,
Aye.
9 in favor.
Okay, motion passed, thank you. And that is all we have on the agenda this evening. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman Snow. Second by Alderwoman Prather. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, for the record, we adjourned at 8:08 PM. Thank you, everybody.